What's going on, gamers? Pop Smurf here of First Option Gaming. Today we're going to learn how to play the Sunsinger Warlock. This is the secondary spec for Warlocks and can be an absolute beast in the Crucible if played correctly. So I got a base build for you as well as a guide with some tips about how to go from being a good and okay Warlock to being a badass motherfucking Human Torch Sun God. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, let's do this shit. I'm going to start off by saying I don't really go into weapons that far just because I know everybody's got different weapons, and I'm just not doing that. I'm just doing kind of a base build for the class itself. I will go into the gear just a little bit just because I do have one of the Sunsinger exotics, the Purifier Robes. What it does is when you activate the Radiance from Death, it disorients your nearby enemies, and what that does in the Crucible is when you come back to life, if there's a Fireborn or if you're just popping Radiance, it makes the enemy's team go like staticky white. And it totally blinds them, and it already makes it so that like when you come back from Fireborn, they don't really know that you're coming usually anyway. And then on top of that, their screen goes bright white, so it's a pretty cool perk, and it gives you just one more leg up during the Crucible. So it's a cool perk. That being said, let's get into the build. This is my personal build. I'm one of those guys. I like to run around, very in-your-face playstyle, run gun with a shotgun, hand cannon, that kind of stuff. So my playstyle reflects that a little bit. Let's start with the grenades, and you got your solar, your firebolt, and your fusion grenade. And solar grenade it's not really that viable in PvP just because people don't really stand on that stuff. You have to be pretty close to do any damage with it. It's a slow damage over time, and people are usually smart enough to get out of the way before you get hurt by it, or before they get that damaged by it. So I don't really use it that much. It's usually between the firebolt and the fusion grenade. The firebolt does quite a bit of damage in a very short amount of time, which is what I like about it, and it ignites the enemies as well if you have it stacked with the other perks. So I usually like to use it when I'm stacking it with the later perks over here, but we'll get into that later. Fusion grenade is basically the sticky grenade from Halo, from the Halo franchise. So it's like it's just a plasma grenade, and it's an instant kill. You throw it if it attaches to somebody, it's a one-hit kill, and that's why I like it so much. And it's usually my go-to. And on top of that, you don't really have to be that accurate. It'll actually magnetize to the opponent if you get it pretty close, like close enough. It'll actually stick to them. So it's like a dumbed-down version of the Halo plasma grenade. That's why I like it. You got all your basic glides. They're all pretty much the same. I use the focus burst because it's a little bit faster. It gets me to and from that much quicker, and that's why I like it. Your Radiance has three very different perks. The Song of Flame gives all of your allies it reduces their cooldowns as well as yours. And it's not really PvP viable. Doesn't really help you out much more in the Crucible, and your friends aren't usually you're always kind of spread out, so it doesn't really help everybody. So it doesn't help that much in the Crucible. Radiant Skin, on the other hand, it's a very beast perk. It just turns you into this tank, and it literally takes like 3 guys shooting at the same time to take you down when you have Radiant Skin active. So it's a really solid perk if you don't have Fireborn yet. But once you get Fireborn, it's basically you have to go Fireborn. It gives you an extra life. When you die, you can pop Fireborn and come back to life and shoot people in the back, and it's an awesome perk. And it's like I think it's like why people pick Sunsinger. It's like the standout thing. It's the only class that could do that. So 9 times out of 10, you're going Fireborn just so you can come back to life and kill people from the grave, literally. And then, but if you don't have Fireborn, go Radiant Skin because it's an awesome perk as well. Your Scorch ability, on the other hand, it's one of those things. There's only one option, and it's the Flame Shield. It gives you a mini overshield on hit whenever you hit somebody with your melee, and it could really change the tide of a battle because there's been a lot of times where I've been like half armor already, you know what I mean, and hit somebody with a Flame Shield, getting that quick overshield, and it's those times where like I should have lost the battle, but because of Flame Shield and because it's always active, the cooldown is pretty fast on it. It's just one of those things that keeps you alive in a lot of gunfights that you would normally lose. Solar Wind is the dumbest talent in the world. It doesn't do anything to help you in PvE or PvP. It's fucking retarded. Don't pick it. Brimstone is cool, but it's just not as viable in PvP. I would actually use Brimstone. No, I'd use Flame Shield even in PvE, just because you need a shield all the time. It's just they made two okay. Well, they made one okay one with Brimstone, and then this one's stupid. But they had one okay perk with stacked on the ultimate perk, which is Flame Shield. So you have to go Flame Shield with Sunsinger. It doesn't matter. These are all playstyle, just whatever your preference is. If you want more armor recovery or agility, that's on you. Radiant, these three perks right here, you got Radiant Will, Viking Funeral, and Sunburst. And Radiant Will increases the duration of Radiance, which is cool. I mean, it lets you throw a lot more grenades while you have Radiance active. Just all your cooldowns are constantly refreshing for a little bit longer, which is nice. I like to go Viking Funeral just because it gives your it makes your ignite burn longer, and it makes it more powerful. It's like having Thorn on all of your grenades and scorches, which is pretty cool. That's why I pick it more often than this, just because I don't really need Radiance is already pretty long. It's pretty lengthy anyway, so I don't really need it to be that much longer. I go Viking Funeral. And then Sunburst and PvP. As far as PvP goes in the Crucible, I don't really have a problem with the Orbs of Light. I'm not getting, even though I'm a shotgunner and I'm constantly shotgun and meleeing people, I'm not getting enough Orbs of Light out of this to make it useful for me in a PvP situation. So I'm usually going Viking Funeral on that one. And then your last three, you have Touch of Flame, Angel of Light, and Gift of the Sun, and all three of these are really good. Touch of Flame gives your grenades, it makes all of your grenades ignite enemies, and then causes the damage over time, which is awesome. It really, when it stacks with Viking Funeral, it really makes your grenades a lot more powerful. Angel of Light pauses you, it makes you float in midair, like whenever you're aiming down your sights, which is a pretty cool perk to have. Nobody else can do that. What I don't like about that is it kind of makes you an easy target because you're just kind of out in the open floating around. But if you know how to use it well, it's a cool perk to have. But then Gift of the Sun is just having an extra grenade, especially if you're using fusion grenades like I am. Having an extra sticky grenade to throw at somebody is invaluable to me, and I think it's the best perk of the three, but they're all really good. So mess around with those and pick whatever one you think is best, but I think Gift of the Sun is the best of the three. So that's my current build right now. Let's go to some gameplay, and I'll show you guys some tips. Alright, I got a few things I want to talk about today as far as the Sunsinger class goes, and these are just, there are a few tips that you should be thinking about while you're playing in the Crucible. They'll make you a better player, and they're mostly not about what perks you have picked out, but how to utilize the ones that you're using to their fullest extent and how to get more kills out of them. Alright, so let's get into it. Alright, number one, the Flame Shield. Now, most people, when they think about the Sunsinger Warlock, they're automatically thinking about Fireborn and coming back to life and all that shit. But really, like, your bread and butter, as far as the Sunsinger classes go, it's the Flame Shield. It's one of the unsung heroes of the class, and it's one of those things that, like, everybody picks. Every person should be using Flame Shield in the Crucible, especially. And it's just one of those things that makes you a threat at all times, no matter how close or far you are to the enemy. It's just getting that, having an ability that makes it so that when you damage somebody, it gives you health or armor is a pretty strong perk. And it's one of those things where you should be conscious during the game of when your Scorch is going to be up and when to use it. Well, you should always be using it, trying to spam it as much as possibly up. So what I recommend is to, one, get your strength to 100% so that you get Scorch just a little bit more often. Every little bit helps. Having that on cooldown, or having it off cooldown, is always a good thing. So my first tip would just be to get your strength as high as you can, and the second one would be to position yourself in the game so that you're always going to be in a close quarters area, so that you're constantly hitting the enemy. Because the more you're hitting somebody, the more you're getting your Flame Shield. The more you have your Flame Shield, the harder you are to kill. And at the end of the day, that's what you want. Alright, number 2, Fireborn. Now, Fireborn is the Radiance perk that allows you to come back to life when you pop Radiance. Alright? So, my tip about Fireborn is not how to use it, but when and where to use it. Because I all the time I see people kind of like getting killed. You kill a Sunsinger Warlock, and then he just like immediately pops Radiance, comes back to life, and half the time 3 or 4 people are still looking at him and they're just like mowing him down. And it doesn't matter that he came back to life and he has radiance because 3 people are shooting at you and you timed it wrong and you kind of fucked yourself. So my tip about using the Fireborn perk is to kind of wait, let everybody, like if, let's say you get killed by 2 people, you kind of just hang back a little bit. You have like 10 seconds before you auto respawn. Just kind of sit tight, wait, see if anybody else is going to kind of walk over you really quick because you don't really get to toggle your camera frame. But you can get a good idea of who's around you and then come back, sneak up from behind because they're not thinking that you're going to come back. So it doesn't matter, you already have the element of surprise. Don't rush it. Wait, hold off, see what is going on in your surroundings, and then use it. Alright, and the other thing that I have to say about Fireborn is, I mean, just because a lot of people pop Fireborn and then they just continue to play as if they're not on Radiance, and the perk of Radiance itself gives you, it pretty much gives you unlimited grenades and unlimited scorches, and the next thing I want to say is that you should be mindful that when you pop Radiance that you can spam grenades and spam your flame shield the entire time that you have Radiance up. So just because you're, like I said, just because you're coming back to life, that's not the only thing that you could do. You're also a fucking just monster grenade and meleeer, so just remember to use that. Alright, and then the last thing I want to talk about, the last tip, it's not really much of a tip, it's more of a mindset that I think that any Sunsinger should have while playing the class, because deep down at the end of the day, this class isn't made for long range encounters. It's not made to be a sniper class or, you know, pulse rifles or scout rifles. This class, at its heart, it's a very close quarters combat oriented class. It's a high risk, high reward. It's made for shotgun and fusion rifles and meleeing your opponents for the majority of the map. And if that's not your playstyle, there's nothing wrong with that. But that's what synergizes with it best. So if that's not how you like to play, maybe at the end of the day this class might not be for you. And I'm not saying that in all scenarios, like just because if you like to use pulse rifles or snipers, that the Fireborn or that the Sunsinger class isn't for you, because I think that the Voidwalker is more of a distance class, and I play it all the time. I love playing Voidwalkers, but like I said, it's just one of those things that you should keep in mind while you're playing the class. Alright guys, that's all I got for you today. If you enjoyed the video, please like it. If you want to see more Destiny stuff from me, please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be doing the Hunters and the Titans next, as well as when the Taken King comes out, I'm going to be doing all 3 of those subclasses. So, until then, I'll see you around. Peace.